Hello everyone, it's Andrew from Gem TCG here, and in today's video I'll be talking about a very important topic, which is pricing and how to go about pricing your cards so that you're making a decent profit while not compromising on the amount of sales that you'll get. And I'll break this down into the different types of sellers that we will be at, or like the level of seller that you're at, and also a tool that I built for you guys to calculate the profit that you could get from a order. And that tool is completely free, and I will show it here. And the link is on the website that I made, so gemtcg.com/ebay-fee-calculator, and then I'll link it in the description so you guys can see it. But let's get on to the website. And also, if you need more help starting and growing your eBay store, I have a Patreon with the link in the description. So this is how the page looks, and basically it's just a simple calculator. You enter in the sold price, shipping amount charged, how much the item cost, the shipping cost, and then the number of orders you've had at that rank or at that price and whatever. eBay store, you could put the eBay store you have. I haven't noticed a big fee difference, so it really doesn't make an impact, but just for future reference, I have that there just in case. And then the seller level. So the way this works is if you're a top rated seller, you get a 10% discount off of the final value fees. And then the below standard, you actually pay a 6% fee if you are at a below standard level. So you definitely don't want to be at that point because 6% is a lot to be at. So the goal is to be at least standard, and the best thing is top rated. And then the promoted listing rate, that's just what you put for promotions. Of course, not all your sales come through promoted listings, but just for easy reference, I have that there. So let's just say or actually, let's not even get into the calculator yet. I want to give some of my mentality when it comes to pricing. So when you're first starting off, this is something I didn't clarify a lot in my previous videos, but when you're first starting off, you might struggle to do what I recommend of that 30% above market price because you don't have a lot of sales or feedback on your account. So it's going to be hard to do that and charge a markup unless you have like a really rare card, really good condition, stuff like that. But if you're just starting off, you're going to want to charge at least market price because you don't want to be losing money and undercharging, because that what that will cause is a race to the bottom. And if you're selling something and you have the lowest available card on eBay and someone sees that and they want to charge below you, they will undercut you, and then someone else sees that, they will undercut them, and then it will just continue happening, and it will be a race to the bottom. So you don't want to be undercutting people. Just charge market price or lowest, or like around the lowest price on eBay if you want. Or you could do what I will show you guys with this calculator, because it will be helpful, and stick around to the end for that one. But so yeah, charge market price, because if you're paying, let's say 70% market, even after fees and shipping, you should still make like a 5 to 10% profit, which is still good when you're first starting off because you get that experience, you build up your store, and just long term it's not bad. So that's how that is. And then on top of that, when you are selling cards and you decide your markup, the 30% markup that I recommend is for cards that are like $10 and up. Because if you're selling a card that's five, like the market price is $5, if you're marking it up 30%, that's only like $1.50, because 30% of $5 is $1.50, and then you're doing all that work just to make $1.50. It's not really worth it. So you kind of have to do a bigger percentage when you are selling these cheaper cards, because you still want to make like a big dollar profit. You can't just focus on percentages for everything. But if you're selling like $100 card and you mark it up 30%, then you're talking, $30 of profit, which is very good for a single card. So what I recommend is anything below $5 market price, you can get away with basically doubling the value. So if it's a $5 card, sell it on eBay for $10. If it's a $2 card, sell it for $4. And the way that that math works is because the shipping cost is a very big percentage of that card. Like if something's $5 and you sell it and then you have to ship for, 69 cents, then that is around 12% of the sale. So you're going to want to factor that in. And then like everything is just a bigger percentage when you're selling a cheaper card because that's just how the numbers work. But when you're selling more expensive cards, you can get away with selling a card at a lower markup, if that makes sense. And then if it's between $10 to $20, I recommend doing like 50% markup because if it's a $10 card, you list it for $15. It's very good, like very good numbers. And then I there is a kind of interesting thing with the eBay standard envelope, which is like if it's below, let's say it's $15, you could of course list it for like, let's say 50% above that is, let's just say it's $21. You're not going to want to do that because you can you would have to pay for a ground advantage label, which is like $4 to $5. Whereas if it's charged $20, then you only have to pay 69 cents for that label, which is a very big difference. So the goal, like there's like a very weird threshold with a card being $20 and below. Because once you go above $20, you can no longer use the eBay standard envelope and then you have to be paying that $5 shipping. So if that's the case, try to stick below $20 if you can and if the profit makes sense. But of course, if you have to go above 20, you can. But what I do is, let's say a card is like $18 and I want to charge 50% above market price. Actually, that's not a good example. Let's say it's like $16 and I want to charge 50% above market price. That would be like $23. I would then round up to make it $25 because of that $5 shipping label. Or you could just list it at $20 so then you could sell it with the 69-cent label. And that's more like niche concept and it's not very common, but it's just something to look out for. And let's talk about the progress of your markups because when you are first starting, like I said, you want to start with like market price. Don't go below that. It might be hard to sell above that. So just stick with the market. And then once you get to like, let's say 100 feedback, you could probably do, 5 to 10% above market price on those $20+ cards, maybe a 50% increase on the $5 cards, and then a 25% increase on the $10 to $20 cards. So just it's smaller markups, but it's still enough to make it worthwhile. And then once you get to 500 feedback, you can increase that number. 1,000 feedback, you could do the 30% that I'm recommending and follow my pricing strategy because once you get to 1,000 feedback, you kind of set yourself apart from most sellers because most sellers are below that number. And if people see that you have 1,000 feedback, they automatically trust you more and they would be willing to pay that higher rate. And you also will have more buyers, like repeat buyers, and just more everything, more inventory. eBay will promote you more. There's just a lot of benefits that come with having such a high number of feedback. And it's not like once you get to 1,000, something just changes, but it's just a guideline. It's not an exact thing. And then also, another thing is with these promoted listing rates, let's say you're marking up like 30% with a 2% promoted listing rate. If you want to mark up higher or promote higher, then you have to change the other thing. So if you want to increase your promoted listing rate, you're going to want to increase your markup as well. So that way you're not losing money on sales. And I talked about that in my other pricing strategy video. So check that out there. So let's get on to the actual calculator part that I made. So first, let's start with the selling it at market price and see how the math works for that. So let's say you have a $10 car, like the market price is $10. You want to charge, let's just say $13. So if it's $10 and you paid 70%, your item cost is $7. Shipping charge, I recommend doing free shipping on all orders because you get more views and you get more potential to make sales. And it's worth eating that cost, and you could always just incorporate it into your listing price. So if shipping cost is 69 cents, just make your card like $13.69. So shipping cost 69 cents. And also there are like the supply. So let's just do 80 cents because you need the envelope and the card saver and a sleeve. And then eBay store, that part doesn't matter. Let's say you're a standard level seller promoting at 2%. So if you buy a card that's worth $10 and you sell it at a 30% markup, you will be making a 24% or 24.75% profit with $3 of actual profit. Now, let's say you wanted to sell that at market price of $10. So right here, you would be making 67 cents with a 6.75% profit margin. And when you look at it like this, it's not a very good number because like 67 cents, you're doing all that work just for that much. It's very low. So that's why you want to grow your store as quickly as possible so that way you don't have to be in this stage for too long. Now, of course, let's say someone bought two cards and then it was $20 and it costed you 14 with that same shipping cost. Then you're making $2 of profit with a 10.75% profit margin. So that's why you want to also get volume sales and get people to buy more than one card at a time. And I know I've talked about this, but I will get that coupon video and like volume pricing video out soon because I think it's very important to have. So, and then another great thing is I know it's very hard to get to top rated if you are below 100 feedback or like below 500 feedback, but let's just say you are. Your profit margin will go up to 12% with $2.42 as compared to $2.15. So it's not huge, but it is enough to make a difference because once you start making a lot of sales, you will notice these fees that you will save on. And then another thing that you really need to look out for is this below standard because right now you're profiting $2, but let's say you're below standard, it goes down to 95 cents. So it's very hurtful for the store if you are below standard. So definitely stay on top of your negative like defects, resolutions with buyers, and tracking rates. Do everything properly and you won't run into this issue. And so let's go back and say you have a card that's like $5 or you sell it for $5. You would want that card to cost you at most $2.50. And the reason why is because your profit margin will become very small, like on a dollar basis, but the percentage, of course, is higher. So if you're doing it and it costs you $2.50, your shipping cost is 80 cents, and then you're promoting 2%, you get 94 cents of profit, but it is a 18.75% profit margin. And then let's use that same multiplier from last time. So let's say you sold two of them, then your profit margin becomes pretty high. Like you're making $2.67 with a 26% profit margin. And that's just when people buy two cards. Now let's say someone buys, four of them. You're still under that 69-cent shipping label, 10% on or 10 cents on the like supplies. Then you're getting a pretty huge percentage and dollar amount. So it's very good to get these big sales. And this is why I made that one video the other day or like a few weeks ago about why $2 to $5 cards are so good and why they're actually better than the expensive cards. And then the way that I do it with the $20 and up cards is like this. So let's say a card is worth $20 market and you're paying 70% on that. So that would be you're paying $14. And if it's worth 20, you're going to want to charge, I would say, the shipping label plus maybe like a 10 to 20% if you want to be like pretty safe on your profit margin. So shipping label, let's just say it's $5, and then 20% of 20 is like $2 or $4, not $2. So you would charge $29. Shipping label, let's just say it was 5 to be easy. Oh, 5. So you would be making 20% profit margin with a $6 or $5.50 profit, which is pretty good. And that's what I aim for on my sales. Of course, you can go lower because $5 of profit, if you're happy with that, or if you think that's too much, you could go lower. So you could even charge like $26, and then you're still making an 11% profit margin with $3 of profit. And then if you get to that top rated level, even higher. And that's pretty much how this works. It's pretty simple, and you just have to factor in, what your shipping costs are, what you're paying for the card, and then how much you want to charge based on that. And also with the promoted listing rate, because like I charge 5% promoted listing rate, or like I do a 5% promoted listing rate. So if I have a card that I paid $14 for, I would have it at this like $26 to $28 cost. And another thing is what I was talking about with the below $20, like selling it for below $20, is because look at this. So let's say you put it at 20 and then you charge that same number from before. You're making a pretty similar profit margin, and you will obviously sell it a lot faster if you're doing it like this. Because if someone sees a card for $20 and then $26, and you don't have, like, even if you don't have a lot of feedback, they will buy from you because it's just like, simple $6 difference. And of course, if that other person has a lot of feedback, they might still buy from them, but there's always ways to compete on pricing. It's not the best way to compete, but it definitely works when you're doing it with this method because you're not charging like below market, but you're charging it at a way that you could still make a good profit. And that's also if you're top rated. So if you're standard, it would be $1.55. And then another thing is the minimum amount that I charge for all of my cards. So if you look at my store, you'll notice that nothing is listed below $3. So $3, let's ignore the item cost. And the reason why this is because if I sell something for $3, assuming the cost is 0, I will be profiting $1.65, which is very good. And most of these cards, at most, they cost me like 35 cents. So I'm making $1.30 on each order that I get. Because at my store, I get like probably 20 to 30 orders per day of just a single card. One thing, $3, that's it. So if I'm charging anywhere below this $3 mark, it becomes too big of a time constraint. And then I have to sacrifice on like a lot of other things. So I need to be able to charge a decent amount so that I could still profit and then not have to lose out on anything. And it still works because people, like, if you have stuff with good listings, good feedback, people will pay that. So don't be too scared to list cards for like a low amount because they will still sell. Obviously, they won't sell as quickly, but they will sell, especially if you have a lot of inventory and a huge variety. Like the other day, I had someone go through my store and they bought like 25 Slowpoke and Slowbro cards, all different sets, different variations. All of them were like common, uncommons, reverse hollows, very basic, cheap cards, and they spent $3 on each of them. So just like, let's do the math right here. So 25 times 0.35, let's just say it's like $9. I don't know the exact number, but I'm pretty sure it's around there. 25 times 3, 75. Shipping cost was like $5. So just on that one order, I made $48 of profit on $9. Actually, no, not even 9, because it wasn't 35 cents per card. It was like very cheap bulk, common, uncommon hollows. So it costed me like, let's just be simple, 0.03, 3 cents per card. And then they bought 25 of them, so it was like 75 cents. I think that's the math. I made $56 on one order. All cheap cards costed me this much, which is extremely low, and it's just very simple to do. So don't be too worried about charging too little or charging too much and focusing on those like super expensive cards, because if you get a big enough inventory, you can do sales like this all the time. And it happens more often than you think of, or than you think it would, because there's so many buyers and so many different types of collectors that if you get a huge inventory, you can like attract all of them, and you will get them to buy tons of cards from you at different times. Even like I've had people that make orders at my store once a month of like 20 cards at a time. So that's a great thing, and I will talk more about how to get that good feedback and good reputation as a seller in a future video. But for now, try to use this calculator and play around with it, see what works best for you. Like in my example earlier, I said $3 because I don't want to sell anything that's below $1 profit. But let's say you are okay with 50 cents of profit. You could take $1 card, sell it for $3, and you're still making 69 cents, 23% profit margin. So do what works best for you. These are just the numbers that I think are good. And for sure, don't sell stuff so that you will lose money unless you've had it listed for like 2 years or some crazy amount of time and you need that money back. Don't list it for below market, or don't list it for a losing cost. If your thing costs you $7, make sure you're making at least $7 after the fees and shipping. Because the worst thing to do is sell a card for like a loss, and then a year down the line or a few months down the line, you see that card is worth like $15 now, of that $7 example. Because that has happened to me before, and there have been many times where I've sold a card and I look at the market price like a few months later and it's worth double or triple, or sometimes even like 5 times the cost. So definitely keep that into consideration. You will always have collectors buying these cards. You'll always have demand, especially if they are popular characters. So charge what works for your store. If you want to get a bunch of sales, you can go lower. But if you want to make more profit, go higher. You will get less sales, but it'll be more worthwhile. And that will give you more time to list cards rather than just fulfilling orders. Because if you're just spending, 3 to 4 hours a day fulfilling orders and you're making a 5% profit margin with 50 cents of profit, it's really hard to scale and grow your business. So yeah, to wrap it up, just check out this website or this page on my website, see what works best for you. And once you get to a certain level, you'll kind of figure out how to do this in your own head. Like you won't need this calculator. What I even had, like what I used to do is I wrote down the market price. So let's say a market price was $10. I had that calculation of 30% above it. So it was like a quick reference, and I didn't have to manually do it on a calculator each time. So if it was like $10, I look at the chart, 13. $11, it would be like 13.3 or something like that. So you will get to a point where you just memorize this. And yeah, that's about it for this video. I hope you guys found this tool helpful. It's completely free. I built it myself. And if you ever want me to build any more tools, let me know. I do have that one about the TCG player market prices, like fluctuating tool coming out. And it's actually, you can join the waitlist, TCG Watch, right here. So check that one out if you're interested and join the waitlist. It should be coming out at the end of this month. And it's honestly a really great tool. It's going to be very helpful for us sellers. So I'm excited to share that with you all. But yeah, I hope you all have a great day and hope you guys found this helpful. Peace.